So we did spend, I don't know, about a day and an hour above the resistance, right back down. Actual support area. So I already have a script in to buy inside of this range here. If we drop down, back down on the open, and I'd be taking sales here and here. So very benign, quiet market. Earnings season off to a good start. Certainly seeing a bunch of things move up higher on good news. Yesterday, I think we had our first example of with Under Armour, a stock down a lot, but we bought it into long-term support, and it did have about $1.50, $2 bounce in the morning before kind of settling in a tight range. So let's continue to make sure we stay focused on our top few names right on the open, and after 10 o'clock, look to see what other things are in play, go through the radar, develop plans from there, but don't jump from stock to stock to stock without having a plan. IWM is coming into the support area. So this was the bigger sell-off to 120 back in early September. I guess we made a slightly higher low on the most recent sell-off around 120.20, but we're right there now, 120 to 120.20. We consolidate in that area and break to the downside. That's a pretty good short setup. Okay, so Apple. So Apple was interesting. The numbers sounded okay to me, but they ran it up above 120 right after the announcement. I had to jump off the desk and do a lecture for DNA, so I didn't do anything, but fading a strong up move on news that wasn't particularly good. The guidance was okay. If you notice on the guidance, they lowered the gross margins by a little bit, so that's going to bring the average, their EPS estimate below what the market views right now. Having said that, it was benign as well. It wasn't anything that big. Let's take a look at the daily. This stock recently ran up from 104 to 116, had the pull into 112 where it broke out from, held that, and then obviously was consolidating at the highs coming into earnings. So there's a very positive psychology in it right now. I would say if these numbers came out and the psychology wasn't good, we could easily be looking at this area right here. Because of the positive psychology, I'm not sure we're going to see that, but I put those levels on the sheet. This 114 is one of the most recent spot where it broke out from, or was bought from. So here's the initial sell-off in the after hours, took it to 115.25, popped back up to 116, then closed a little bit lower. It was a nice overnight short. Came in this morning, you were not that much in the money, but $1 in the money from where it closed in the after hours. Came back up, tested that after hours low, and was sold. So right now, sellers very much in control. Fails here, fails here. We're going to watch this 114 to see what it does here. But usually on the open in Apple, I'll play both directions off of the levels that we develop in the after hours. Try to make 50 cents to $1 a couple of times, and then see if it starts to hold above or below key levels for a trend. Obviously, holding above 116, it can bounce. Holding below 114, I don't know if it's going to get back down to that 111.5, 112 area, which was longer term resistance. But that's kind of the next real support. The next one is Boeing. Unfortunately, the market realized what I realized when I first looked at the news, which was they didn't really beat. They had a 70 cents tax gain. Initially, people saw that number. They bid it to 144. A little bit earlier in the pre-market, around 8 o'clock, could have shorted it into 140, 180 or so. It's now come off $4. So that's kind of the catch-22 of during earnings season. What time do you start preparing? What time do you start trading? It's a little bit more complicated for me maybe than you guys because of other obligations. But certainly after 8 a.m., if you've done your prep work between 7 and 8, and the volume starts to come in at 8, and you like something on the short side, and you see the volume in the pre-market, you can put on a position. And sometimes, if this keeps on going, comes off a few more dollars, it's going to be very difficult to initiate a short position now that since I sat down, it's come off $4. So we'll watch the next logical spot for it to have trouble. If it pops back up, is 140. 140 before, 142, 140. So it's pretty much accumulated coming into earnings. I guess just looking at this over the last couple of weeks, I guess 136 if they really wanted to put the kibosh on it. So still pretty good risk reward from the 140 area if it pops back up there. And then yesterday's resistance, you want to see it holding below 139, 20, 139. GRMN. They always write this stock off and it always comes back, at least for the last 5 years. So here's the daily. They wrote it down to the 30s. It came back up to 56 here. Filled the gap recently, the last earnings gap. And the numbers are good. So it's gapping higher. This is an example actually of they beat by a lot and they have margin expansion. This is kind of the opposite of Boeing. So this should hold its gap.
The only thing you have to be careful of with these things is sort of getting the breakout point of the scaling. Like if you look at it.
So what do I have on here? 50-51 support. Only 30,000 shares in the pre-market. So I guess when the market opens, if there's a quick little profit taking and we see some buying around the 51 level, that will be the first thing I'm looking at. At 51, it's only up 3.5%. It's not a lot. The stock can move. We definitely have a $2 range today. So comes off to 51 on the open. They're buying it there. Could easily pop to 53. Use 52 as inflection right on the open. See if it's holding above or below. Pandora. So I was actually on the desk when this number came out. It wasn't good at all. And for some reason, they popped it up to the low 12s after initially picking lower, and then sold off to 11.15. And came back up to 11.50. Even this morning is back down to 11.15. So this is where they bought it up to right after the bid. I don't know why that was bought. Maybe they misunderstood the guidance. So this is one that I certainly saw above 14 as a good potential short candidate just from the longer term. Basically, it doubled off of the low. There are two general rules on higher quality stocks. When they get 50% off the long-term low, that's an area where they often fail. More speculative names, when they double off the low, which is this one, is another spot where they tend to fail. That's why I was shorting it in this area up here a few weeks ago. So looking at it now, in the longer term, you can see why it's supporting here around 11. This band here right above 11. I would short pops in it. And then if they really want to put the kibosh on it, this 1030s little gap here, that's what I'd be looking at if it was holding above $11. So ideally it would pop again a little bit on the open. So it already did that pop. I guess it almost got to 1150 there. I'm sure people, that's what they were looking for, and they shorted it. can see after hours bounce, did hold above 1150 a little bit here, then eventually closed below it. So this is the area where people are going to look to sell it. EW, this could be a little bit crazy. It's a thinner stock. They had a very small, a very slight guide lower, and so I'm sure people are wondering, like, hey, 15% is on some of these like higher growth, more momentum type stocks, and something like this triples in a few years, like it did from 40 to 120. You have to maintain that growth rate, and if you don't, you get punished. Now, should it be down 15% on very slight lower numbers? Maybe not. Maybe it should only be down 6-8%, something like that. But it's going to be down. You can't do this to this and then not keep on crushing it. Same thing on ULTA. You know, ULTA at some point will come down $20 or $30, and it'll be because just a slight little miss, and then they guide down once they lose their momentum. Because most of the people pushing these stocks, this sort of stock higher and higher, they're momentum based, and when it loses the momentum, the fundamental momentum, you'll see the price action change dramatically. So it was down all the way down here, and it filled this gap in the after hours. And now it's kind of, I think, just above this, kind of in this little area right here. So let's take a look. Okay, so it got down to the longer term right immediately. They bounced it back up to 100. Now 96, it's trying to make a higher low here. So the way I would look at it is if they're selling it in the 99 to 100 area, it's okay to short it. You have 96 to trade against. And if it were to actually take out that 96 and start holding below, you're looking at 93, and then where it bounced from in the after hours. Again, this is going to be a bit more wild of a stock, so for more experienced traders, that's why I saved it to the last fresh stock. Under Armour, this treated us very well, I thought, yesterday. I believe did I short it? I don't remember. I played the bounce, 32. I didn't short it. I got flat into the 33.5 area. Got long again into the pullback. I thought on the 30-minute, it pretty much, other than shorting it into this pop back to 33.50, I thought it came in, made another higher low, and then I thought it consolidated higher. I thought it looked pretty good as a long. So it gets above 33.20 today, and then takes out 33.50 or so. Let's look for a little bit more of a bounce. Starts to hold below 32.30. You want to look to see if it comes in and tests some of these levels from the pre-market yesterday. That's fine as well. It looks like that's what it held in the pre-market actually, from to support. Yeah, so it got down here in the pre-market. It's come up 40 cents. So this would be the area I'd be watching to see if it holds. BHI. So BHI is an example of something that worked really well in terms of from a risk to reward, shorting into the 57 area. It did make a higher, and this has all happened in the first 15 minutes when there's price discovery, no real trend. It made the higher high here, but then quickly reversed down almost $2. I did short this pop into 56.30, I think, maybe. And then it trended lower. I don't remember where I got flat, to tell you the truth. Maybe it was like in the high 54s. It came all the way down to $54. If I was on the desk, I definitely would have bought that. See if it would pop back up to this 55 level. I think we talked about in the morning meeting. It popped up once, held a little bit higher, popped up like second time. So now it's just ranging. Consolidation range between 55 and 54.35 or so. If it were sold again, what you're looking at here, is this range coming into earnings. It's got about $1 downside from there to get to the top of this range. Sonk, great example of choosing your levels wisely. We had 2130 as support. It worked beautifully on the flush on the open. I had a script to buy it. It came down there again and held. Then it held a little bit higher at 2160. More conservative people wanted to buy it. There was a nice buy here a couple times in the 60s. Never held above 22. So came into long-term support, held, which is what you want to see, then held a little bit higher. So there's definitely buying interest down at these levels. What we'd want to see today, if you're long it, is it start to hold above, let's say 2220 or so, and look for a move back up to 23 to 2330. That's it. Okay, 18 minutes to the open. As always, be patient and good luck.
Hope you enjoyed that video. You can actually watch that video if you're subscribed to our Trader 90 before the market even opens. What stocks are in play? What levels in those stocks are important? And how we might go about attacking that stock. That's Steve Spencer, 20-year veteran trader, laying it out there every morning before the market even opens. A really, really powerful tool to start your session off on the right foot. So right now we're offering a trial that you can take advantage of to access this meeting and other meetings throughout the day. We have a meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern where you can sit down with Mike Bellafiore and listen to him talk about what's going on during the morning session, what stocks were in play, what the best trade opportunities were, as well as maybe some things that we're looking at heading into the afternoon session. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that trial.